Today I just want to have this conversation and share with you something that I've been wrestling with in my mind ever since I turned 30 during the pandemic. And I was in those lockdowns just thinking to myself, what does it mean to have purpose? What am I passionate about? Why am I here? And I believe it's something that we all go through at this stage. Most of my life I heard the same thing: go to school, get an education, get a stable job, get married, have kids. You could do everything right and still feel like you don't have any sense of direction. To be honest with you, for the majority of my life, I felt like I was just in autopilot, just waiting on something to happen, being hopeful. I grew up in a very religious family. Even though I'm grateful for the spiritual foundation, sometimes I wonder, why have I never had a conversation or sat down and think about what it is that I want to do? Who do I want to be? We always had wild dreams and aspirations as children, and as you get older and older, those dreams become suppressed sometimes. So in this conversation, I just want to talk about purpose. How do you find your purpose? Growing up as a young child in the Bahamas, I always struggled with my self-esteem. I was a little chubby kid. My family didn't have much. We weren't in poverty, but my father was self-employed. He worked every day, morning, noon, and night. My mother worked in the government as a nurse. They tried their best in retrospect, but I always felt inadequate. I felt like I wasn't particularly good at anything. You see those child phenoms, athletes, the children who win the spelling bee, and you wonder, like, what is different about them and me? Was it that they had the right blueprint? Did they have the right people pushing them? Were they born with these talents and abilities? And these feelings stem straight through high school, feeling like a social outcast. And I always used to pray and ask God, like, why am I not super talented? Started to realize that it was all internally. I didn't believe in myself. I tried to blame other people. I tried to blame my parents for not pushing me, being like those parents like LeVar Ball and those, extraordinary people who push their kids. And sometimes in life, your environment really determines how you perceive purpose. And I never really had anybody to instill that confidence in me. My family did their best, but I still felt lost. And something changed though. In 2015, I got an opportunity to go to China for 2 months on a study abroad. During that time, I was struggling to finish college. I was going to the local university, and I was on the payment plans, deferred payments. That opportunity really opened my eyes. And when I was in China walking around, I couldn't speak the language. I was interacting with the locals, traveling, going to different cities. And I realized that, man, even though I'm not sure where I want to go, like, my worldview is changing because I'm exploring different things. I got out of that one environment where I felt stagnated. And so I guess my first point is, finding purpose or coming into your own requires you to change your environment. Because when I look back, that's when my life started to change. When I got that one opportunity to just experience something different. When I came back, I just had this desire to go somewhere else, to live in a different country, to explore. I didn't have the money. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but it was just something on the inside of me saying, this is what you want to do. You want to travel. You want to be somewhere else. So changing your environment is very important, because sometimes you're surrounded by people who may not have the capacity to uplift you and encourage you. You might be around people who are discouraging you. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to how you make the decision. As I get older, I start to realize that there are some things that I never let go of, and it's been holding me back from fulfilling my true potential. We all been hurt in the past. We all been let down, discouraged, and I'm learning how to heal. And when I think about my father, he was a good man. He worked hard, he provided, but I felt as if he didn't instill confidence in me. He didn't spend time with me to get to know me. And when I talked to my family about it, they said, man, he was working so hard just to put food on the table. You need to be more grateful. And I am grateful because now I'm a dad and I know what it's like to put your feelings to the side and just work. But I always wish I had a conversation with him. I always wish, I heard that he loved me and he was proud of me. He never said it. I think he was. But it's so important as parents, to instill that in your kids because that cultivates purpose. I used to play basketball in high school and I realized I wasn't really that good. I was a bench player. I came off the bench. I wasn't athletic. I just had a growth spurt to about 6'2", 6'3", and so I made the team. And I hustled, but I didn't have my family in the stands rooting me on. I had one cousin who would come to my games. I really appreciate him. But when I saw the other kids who were really good, like they had a community behind them, they had people behind them, and I had some resentment because of that. But now that I'm in my 30s, I'm learning that you have to let go of certain things, man, because the more you hold on to pain, it blocks you from fulfilling your destiny, from seeking new opportunities. In order to come into your own and find purpose, you have to let go. I know it's easier said than done because there's some things that happen to us. People made fun of us, people abuse us, hurt us, and it's hard to let go. But the longer you hold on to those pains and frustrations, it's like you're chained to your past. Even when you had your first heartbreak or you had somebody who deceive you, every time you think about that person, you get angry. Even if you meet somebody new. And that's something I wanted to make sure that when I was getting married, that I wasn't taking that into my marriage, being angry with past relationships. But in order to love others and in order to grow and come into your own, you gotta let go. I saw somewhere this quote that said, comparison is the thief of joy. I used to struggle with comparing myself to others. For a moment I was going to a private school in the Bahamas and my parents barely could have paid the school fees. And so as you can imagine, you go into a certain school and other kids, their parents are affluent, they have money. And I was coming to school wearing the same sneakers I wore from the year ago, maybe wearing the same shoes. People started to make fun of me, felt insecure. And I never got over those feelings. Those feelings went straight through. Luckily, I went to public school for high school, so it was less pressure. But I never resolved those issues. And when my father died, I remember I didn't have a job, I didn't have a car. I was going to a local technical college, taking the bus. And I was so angry, man. I saw my peers driving in nice cars. Some of them went straight into the workforce. And I was depressed. And I realized when you compare yourself to others, you limit your potential, because in this social media era now, everybody is successful, everybody has a perfect life, everybody's partying and having a good time. You don't see what they're really going through. You don't see what some people do to obtain some of these, material things. But it's a liberating feeling to know that I don't need to compare myself to anybody. I can just be me, I can just grow at my own pace. And so coming into your own, finding purpose in life, you can't get to that point if you're always comparing yourself. You're always on social media, watching what others are posting, watching what they're wearing, going on vacations, living life. That's only the highlights. So once I got into that mindset of just being grateful for what I have, ever since I stopped scrolling on social media, I have a sense of peace now. I'm not constantly being, bombarded with images of what you should be doing, what you should have at age 30. This person posting that they got their masters, this person posting that they got a new house. And I honestly believe the only reason we post on social media is to feel validated. We want people to see that we're here and we're doing great. But I'm at a point now where I don't need nobody to validate me. One major key to coming into this space of peace is stop comparing yourself to people, because it's not good for your mental health. We're all on a journey. We're all trying to find ourselves, and you may find your dream career at age 40 or 50. You might find that you're great at playing the piano at age 60, and you may live until 80. So don't compare your progress to anybody else. Just live your life. Ever since I left home, I had this desire to try new things, not be afraid to learn something new, try a new hobby. And I honestly feel like because of that, I'm getting closer and closer to my passion and feeling purpose-driven. And so my point is having an open mind, being willing to learn, being willing to explore, experience different cultures, have conversations with different people. It gives you a different perspective. And so I believe that the journey to seeking purpose is all about having an open mind, being willing to let go of the status quo or the blueprint that your family or people place certain expectations on you. Just be open to learning something new, because you just never know what you're good at until you try it. Purpose is something that is already within you. I believe that we're all born with a purpose. We're all here for a reason. And I'd be remiss if I don't share one of my favorite scriptures. And it says in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now, I believe in God. I believe I was born for a reason. I believe God has a purpose for my life. And so every day I wake up, I start off with a prayer. And even when I feel lost, I just try to seek guidance and let go of the fears that I had about not being adequate, or not having certain things at a certain point in my life. We're all on a journey. We're all trying to figure out what we want to do. And as long as you have an open mindset and as long as you're true to yourself, I believe you'll come into your own. Finding purpose is not about completing a checklist, getting a degree, getting this job, living in this area, getting this car. Purpose is something that's on the inside of you, something that keeps you going or wakes you up every morning. When I see my daughter grow, taking her first steps and now running, and I see the smile on her face, that gives me purpose. When I see my wife, the moment that she gave birth, to see her grow into a beautiful mother, it gives me motivation to keep going. I believe that's what purpose is. Serving others, being free to explore and discover new things about yourself. Just know that it's okay to not know exactly where you want to go and what you want to do. Once you're committed to learning, you're not limiting yourself, letting go of the past, and I can guarantee you, we're going to be okay. That's where I'm at now, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to find our place in this world. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned.